Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host, Mark Ronich, a statewide news service, and jbiztechvalley.com.
Good to be here.
Very good that we have a very, very special guest with us, Haim Ben-Eliezer, who was a lieutenant colonel in the Israeli Armed Forces, retired now, but Haim, welcome to the Jewish View.
Yep, it's good to have you here. We should tell the audience that we're all friends. We daven together, we learn together. We're all very
you
well
were in the Defense Forces for 25 years, and unfortunately, Israel has a war almost every 10 years. So you started even in the Six-Day War. I mean, before that, but you were there. You were on the front lines. We're not reading history books now. You were there, and we'd like to talk about the Six-Day War, the Yom Kippur War, and you were right there to see everything, and therefore we want to get a bird's eye view of exactly what it is.
But I think first we should tell the audience what the Israeli Defense Forces are, and we should talk about what they do, because they have many different, from what I've been able to read, they have a lot of different factions, a lot of different levels, and they allow men and women, and men serve 3 years, women 2 years, so there's a lot going on within the Israeli Defense Forces. I mean, it's like 7% of the Israeli economy is the budget for the IDF, and what more can you tell us about the Israeli Defense Forces as an institution?
Okay, by law, every Israeli citizen required to serve the Israeli army. Once you're done with the high school, at the age of 18, men go to 3 years for service, and girls go for 2 years for service. And they've been they're going wherever their talent go. For example, if you learn mechanic, you're going to be mechanic. If he's a smarter kid, they're doing tests like previous to the service. They going for a couple of tests, IQ tests, and to see how capable, what is the best thing for them to go. And once they come into the army, they go for beginning training, and then they going for the service. Some of them going to be infantry, some of them going to be...
And what did you do? Where did you serve in the IDF?
Well, I started my service as in a military school before even I start my service in the army. And I wasn't such a great student, so I learned to be a tank mechanic. So I'm a certified Sherman mechanic. Sherman's not existing anymore.
The Sherman tank.
Sherman tank.
Yeah, that's right. Someone says they built like a Sherman tank,
Yeah, it's the Second World War, the Second World War tanks. So that's what I was, and Sherman was the main tanks in the Six-Day War time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
And what year was the Six-Day War? What year was the Six-Day War?
67.
1967.
Where were you exactly then when it happened?
Well, when the war started, I was about a month soldier, actual soldier. So
You were just new.
I just was a new soldier, and after the first 6 days, I was sent to Sinai to maintain the tanks. There was tanks broken all over the desert. And I was sent with a group of mechanics to fix in Sinai tanks. And
so where did you go? Were you in dangerous territory when you fixed the tanks, or?
You see, it's very hard to know what was dangerous at that time, because as soon as the war ended, all the Arabs started running all over. They was not the bravest soldier in the world. So they're starting barefoot all over. So we never knew where they can be, where they can hide. So we fixed the tanks, but one hide in the back already to look if we are not being attacked or something.
Well, that sounds like what we're facing in Afghanistan these days, or we were facing in Afghanistan, where these bombs could blow up underneath someone's feet.
It was not the situation in the Six-Day War. You're dealing with different kind of soldiers. I mean, the Arab soldiers in that time, I don't think later on they've been braver than then. They wasn't the bravest guy. As soon as they saw some danger, they just left.
The Arabs.
And ran out, yeah. But not always. There was real wars, real tanks against tanks, and it wasn't such a easy-going war. It was a tough war, one way or another. We lost 850 soldiers in that quick war.
Out of, what, 5,000 troops, or?
Well, you never doubt what. We lost 800 soldiers.
You know,
It's a-
Haim, again, I always say in the show, everybody knows I'm 29 years old,
Yeah.
but I was a young person, and a high school student, Six-Day War, and it just so many years ago, you're talking close to 50 years, a half a century. And I remember one news reporter, because at that time, the news, everybody was on the side of Israel. The underdog, the nebbish, oh yeah, all the Arabs are going to beat up on this little Israel, and it's not right, it's not nice. I mean, now it's a whole different story. We won't get into politics there. But then everybody was for Israel. And I remember that they showed a scene of a mother crying for the grave, and they said, because it was an incredible victory. They showed a map. Here's skinny little Israel, and then you have the whole Sinai, you have the Golan, you have now the West Bank. So it was an incredible victory in 6 days on top of everything. And people were just in awe. But then they saw, they showed a scene of people mourning at a cemetery. And I remember what this reporter said. It says, such a small price for such a great victory, such a great price for such a small country. So it's like that's relative. On one hand, any army in America, they lose 800 and you win a whole country, you beat up 4 countries in 6 days, they would just say this is the greatest thing in the world, which of course it was, but on the other hand, it's such a small country, they feel the loss of every person.
I always ask questions about that might seem simple to you, but others may not know. But the Yom Kippur War, was the 6-Day War, or was it different? Or Yom Kippur War
Two
was
different
two different
entities,
things.
two
Yom Kippur War
different-
was 1973, and the
67 and Yom Kippur 73.
73 was Yom Kippur War, and the 6-Day War was 1967.
Right.
And Yom HaAtzmaut, is that a commemoration now?
The Independence Day. It was 48.
And Yom HaZikaron?
Yom HaZikaron, you see, it goes different in Israel than the United States. You always go from mourning to happiness.
Right.
Evening before Yom HaAtzmaut, before the Independence Day, it's in the morning. Like here, the Memorial Day.
Right.
In Israel, it's Yom HaZikaron, the Memorial Day.
Okay.
So you start with 24 hours Memorial Day, and then you go straight into the celebration
Okay.
of the Independence
So
Day.
they're one day after the other?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. From
Different thing.
from
It's a very interesting contrast because when everybody is mournful, like the Haim saying about Memorial Day, but it's a time for ball games and parties and parades.
Nice.
And there it's very, very mournful. And then they blow the siren and all of a sudden everybody's happy, from sadness to happy. So it's a whole different situation then.
yeah.
Go ahead.
And both are meaningful to you in different ways, I guess.
It's meaningful to every Israeli. I just was watching a videotape today. It's just amazing. When the siren come on, everything stops all over Israel. The highways, the cities, the buses, nobody moves. No walking, no driving. The country stays still for 3 minutes. Nothing moves. You can be on a highway in the fastest speed. You stop. And this is different. Everybody has something. Everybody somehow, lost something.
Well, it's not only for Israeli soldiers, but it's for the Holocaust also.
No,
they're
Holocaust is
always
different,
thinking-
Rabbi.
Really?
Holocaust
Is it
is
different?
completely different day.
Really? I
We
didn't know that.
we mixed it. Min sheino mino, we said. It's completely different thing. Yom HaShoah, the
Holocaust
Day, Memorial Day, the different thing. Nothing
Oh,
to
it's
do with Yom
interesting. I didn't know
HaAtzmaut.
that.
But again, when the Holocaust Day comes, also there are siren coming out, and everything stops in Israel. Exactly like the Memorial Day, like Yom HaZikaron. It's the same thing would happen in a country.
So I guess the 2-minute siren is heard at 11 o'clock?
Yeah, usually.
And why is it 11 o'clock? What made that time special?
I don't think any specific 11 o'clock. I'm not sure if there is any specific for 11 o'clock.
Okay.
As far as I know, You know, maybe the middle of the day and the day that, you know.
Go back to the Yom Kippur War there, your war experiences that, it was 6 years later, so now you're, what are you, an officer? You're really on the front line, so tell us about
And
your
you're,
experience with
What,
the
24
Yom Kippur.
years old during Yom Kippur War?
27.
27.
27.
Now you're an officer, what rank?
I
were
was
you?
a major. Major, yeah. I was a
And
major.
where you were
Serving
stationed?
in Sinai, in a place called Bir Gavgafa in Arabic, but in the Hebrew name was Refidim, was it mentioned in the Torah also, the town Refidim. It's in the Budlangs, nowhere in the desert. But it was this Refidim area was a center of logistics for all the armies that serve in Sinai area. We have food center, we have a transportation center, ammunition center, airport, tanks, and this area was a logistic center for all the
Supply
army.
depot, it was a supply.
Yes, supply and Yom Kippur started. The war started actually in Yom Kippur exactly at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock, 2
2
p.m.
p.m. Okay.
2 p.m. exactly, and the war started right on our base. I was stationed in a transportation base, was like 400 big truck on a base.
Maybe we should say, for the people who also set the frame, set the scene, Yom Kippur is, nothing's also going on. You know, it's no buses, people are in the temple, it's the holiest day of the Jewish calendar.
Right.
And it's just like, so you wouldn't expect it. It was, in a
Yeah.
way, a surprise attack.
Yeah,
in
I'm
that sense.
gonna explain a little
right,
bit
good.
what happened in the
Good.
country on Yom Kippur.
Good.
Yom Kippur, all the Jews going to temples, it doesn't matter your affiliation, if you're observant or not, Yom Kippur is a holy day for all the Israelis. And here is a problem for the army. No problem, but the main Israeli army based on a reserve army, more than on regular army. And there is a system how, if in case of emergency, how you call the people on reserve, which is the main basic army, how you call them to come if you need it in emergency. And there is a reason why the Arab country decided to attack Israel Yom Kippur. Because the way you call the soldier to the base is by password and a TV or radio. You said, I don't know, Red Snake. So Red Snake unit, no, I have to show. So they're going with a list of password. Yom Kippur, no TV on, no radio on, no, you cannot drive on Yom Kippur. Nobody gonna take, it's just to taking your life in your hand if you drive. You've been stoned, people, Israelis. Everything is at still. So that means you cannot even go with your car and call somebody to come. Because people don't know what's happening.
Right.
And that's the main reason why the Egyptian and the Syrian decided Yom Kippur is the best time to attack Israel, because it take more time to call the people in reserve.
Right. So this was Egypt and Syria that attacked
Egypt
Israel.
and Syria attacked at the same time,
Uh-huh.
Syria from the north and Egypt from the south.
Okay.
And I was stationed in the south. So was some tension in the air already from Rosh Hashanah, a week before that. My wife came to visit me because I was in service on duty on Rosh Hashanah. So I could bring my family to see, to spend Rosh Hashanah with me. I cannot go home. So what we do Rosh Hashanah, I want to take a trip to the Canal Suez. It was
To the what?
To the Canal Suez.
Suez Canal. The
Suez Canal, yeah. So she took a driver with a jeep with my son and drove to the Suez Canal. Watching. It was very, quiet and very common to go there. To let you know that the Suez Canal, it's not so wide. It's maybe 80 meters, I would say, 150 feet or something. So she coming back afternoon, she said something looked very weird at the Egyptian side. They walking with bulletproof jacket, which never happened before, and they fishing at the canal with bulletproof. I said, I don't know what happened, but it was tension. we knew that something is cooking there.
Hmm.
And Yom Kippur, 2 o'clock, exactly at 2 o'clock, the first attack of the Egyptian Air Force. First airplane coming on our base, coming down, and I'm walking with that commander to see what's happening in the backyard there. Yom Kippur, an aeroplane cannot fly, Israelis on Yom Kippur. So I'm saying, what happened? He looks up and he starts screaming, it's a MiG.
Oh.
Egyptian MiG. So we start screaming to everybody to take shelter, screaming like crazy. And the girls start screaming, afraid. And this MiG start coming down to throw a bomb. I mean, you cannot miss. Coming down,
Right.
I could see his helmet. So low was it. He was a beige helmet. I can see that. He come down, he threw a bomb, and he missed the base.
Oh,
He missed the base.
thank goodness.
And he took off, but Israeli Air Force was already behind him, and we started looking at the air, took him down, and started being nice in the sky. But that's what the war actually started.
Well, how did the Israeli Air Force know to be ready to
They
right behind them?
they're always in alert for a minute,
Yeah.
minute to 2 minute alert.
even on Yom Kippur? I mean, even
All the time.
all the time.
24/7, they're always a team on alert.
Yeah.
2-3 minutes being air, I mean, so they start following them.
Now, when you came back, when Dahlia, your wife, was that who it was at the time?
No, but
Oh,
okay.
it was another wife. Okay. She came over and said to you that there was something didn't look right. Did you notify someone else? Did you tell someone else, or did you just brush it off? Because they
No.
always say now, see something. say
Everybody
something.
knew that. It's not something that I made something new. I mean, the intelligence is there.
Yeah.
It was a different story, what happened, why, and there is so many questions. Why? There was committees to check what happened. That's a different story. But the Egyptians did a very, very good move in their side. What they tried to do, they tried to destroy the logistic of the army.
Uh-huh.
And when you destroy the logistic, the front line, how long can they exist without any supply? And that was the plan. So they started the logistic. Tell you that it was scary? Yes, it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
Because the army was very limited. Whatever we have people in the front line.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been kind of overconfident with the line called line of Bar-Lev line. Bar-Lev was the chief of staff in that day. And he built a line that said, nobody can break this line. Kav Bar-Lev, line of Bar-Lev.
Uh-huh.
So confident that nobody can cross this line. It was made with concrete and stuff. And that was too much of confidence.
Yeah.
And they break the line.
Oh.
Just in historical perspective, I know Sapuna Frindle Lubavitch Rebbe was arguing with the armed forces beforehand. He didn't like the line because the French had a line before World War II to stop the Germans.
Maginot.
The Maginot, they say it in English, the Maginot Line, and the Germans went around it in Belgium, and they parachuted over. So the Rebbe always felt that the line wouldn't hold. You bust through one line, there was no safety valve, there's no secondary force to stop them.
Was there any damage to Jerusalem or Tel Aviv?
No, nothing.
Why do you suppose that the Egyptians and Syrians didn't damage the heart of Israel?
They couldn't get there.
Why?
Even so,
I'm
Well,
just curious
it-
what your thoughts are, because I never,
first of all, they could do it if they weren't cowards. They could do it.
Right.
But also, we stopped them in time. The Air Force could stop them in time. It wasn't so easy to advance, and they couldn't believe it's so easy to keep on going. For example, in the north, the Syrian, they took over the army and started moving toward Tveria, downhill, the Sea of Galilee.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was in their way. They started going downhill, and they stopped. They could not believe. They thought that maybe they are ambushed somehow because they couldn't believe that nothing in their way is so easy.
The Syrians
The Syrians
couldn't believe it.
couldn't believe it, so they stopped. And that gave more time to the army to come back, to come to service and start pushing back. But if they could go all the way down, take over Tveria, and no one was on their way.
It was,
That was a miracle. Just somebody just stopped them. And in Egypt, it was a different story. In Egypt, you start listening in the radios, there's the Egyptian advancing. And we've been about 80 kilometers, like 50 miles from the Suez Canal.
yeah.
And night comes, you start hearing shooting. And it was scary.
What town or city had the largest amount of damage during the Yom Kippur War? And how long did
In
the
Israel,
Yeah, in Israel.
nothing came to the country. Into the country was no damages.
So how long did the Yom Kippur War last?
Was around about 3 weeks fighting.
And what did the Americans do?
American did a lot. Supply, logistics.
We only helped Israel, we didn't help Egypt or Syria. I don't know, I'm just asking.
Well, America always, in all the wars, help Israel logistically, which is a lot.
Is what, I'm sorry?
Logistically,
Yeah,
supplies. They have the huge Galaxy airplane.
yeah.
They start sending like a train, Air Force, Galaxy after Galaxy, equipped with supply, from underwear to ammunition to everything. And that was a huge help, because you are in the desert, you have no water to get a shower, no change underwear, we start running out of everything.
Right, sure.
And suddenly you see come, packages with underwear, and
Right.
it was cold with coats and stuff.
But what about, did the Americans help the Egyptians or the Syrians?
No.
Because sometimes we do that in some wars.
No. In that war, all the wars actually, American help one side.
One
they
side.
They cannot
I
help
think
both
one of the
sides.
ideas that Richard Nixon, again, maybe has a bad name in America, but for in Israel, he's a major hero because it wasn't just, okay, let them, and he signed, okay, let them have logistics. There's stories that he was on top of it. He says, I want to be told when it's going, I want to be told when they're there.
And Henry Kissinger was Secretary of State
Yeah.
at the time.
So they really, to their credit, and a lot of times, the different perspectives in politics. So some people love a politician, some
Right,
people hate
sure.
him. But for Israel, Richard Nixon's a real hero for doing this. He was really on top. It wasn't say, okay, let him have it. He was on top of it.
There's no doubt that the help to Israelis was unbelievable in all the wars,
Mhm.
logistically, and you need logistics.
And what were you said in the 6-Day War, you were working as a mechanic, as a Sherman tank and repairing the Sherman tanks. What were you doing as a major during the Yom Kippur War?
I was a commander of a maintenance center,
A what
a
center?
maintenance center
Maintenance center, okay.
of transportation base.
Uh-huh.
So it was like 600 trucks and all kind of other vehicles.
And you had to make sure that they were all running and they were operational.
Yeah, we have to maintain them all the one. And once we pushed the Egyptian back over the Canal Suez, we crossed the Suez Canal, and we've been stationed in Egypt, basically.
And you were stationed where?
In Egypt.
In Egypt.
In
okay.
Egypt. We crossed the Canal Suez, and we took over an existing Egyptian camp.
Mm-hmm.
And we sit there, and we did the same thing.
Did Israel gain any territory either at the 6-Day War or Yom Kippur War?
6 days war, yes.
What did,
Well, we know what Judah and Samaria, Jerusalem, it's 6 days war.
you had all of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Not just East Jerusalem, but you had all of Jerusalem.
All Jerusalem, Judah and Samaria, and Gaza Strip too.
The Gaza Strip.
Sinai was Sinai. And then after the peace treaty with the Egyptian, we gave Sinai back. And later on we gave all the Gaza Strip back.
Right.
And now, where we are now, we are in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria, which is, again, we don't want to go in politics.
And now
But-
there's a wall that goes through Jerusalem, I was told. There's a, not that I saw it, but
There is a wall not around Jerusalem. It's,
East Jerusalem?
it's more stopping the Judea and Samaria Arabs to cross into Jerusalem.
Right.
Because there was a lot of Arabs going into Israel for sabotaging, for terroring. Now with that wall, they stop it. People cannot go. They did the same thing in the south, a big fence now to stop the terrorists.
Yeah, I'm told that there are 1.5 million people, men, 1.5 million men that are available for military service
Where in Israel?
in Israel. That's a lot of people. And women, 1.5 women between the ages of 17 and 49. Both. I mean, it's like almost 3 million, over 3 million people are available for what? What's
You
the
see,
population
law-
of Israel?
The laws, it's about over 7 million today. But
Yeah.
by law, you're not done after 3 years. When you
Right.
finish your 3 years service, you're not done. Then you go into reserve until the age of 55.
Uh-huh.
And you join a unit, and you train with a unit, and always ready. And now again, people get older, they have to do adjustment. Can you be infantry, or enough with infantry, you have to go something
You do
easier.
desk work or something, or you do something with now computers, I guess, or something.
There are things that you can do, even
I want to,
Yeah,
just because
sure.
we're running out of time, and I know that you also were stationed in Gaza, and so you have that's what we're looking for, a first-hand perspective.
Right.
And tell us about Gaza then, and maybe compare that to what happened later. I mean, now we know there's always missiles, if people are up with Israel. Just a few minutes of just what was life in Gaza as a soldier after they took it over.
Before all the uprising in Gaza started, I served in Gaza for about 2 years. And it was very quiet area, unbelievable. I mean, we can go wherever we want, was no any danger. Night, day, all the Israelis was to go to the Gaza market and buy. And was nice, which shows you we can do it that way too. But later on, the Intifada started, and I remember the day it started with a stupid accident. There was a tractor trailer, excuse me, Israeli tractor trailer that crossed a red line, and they hit a taxi from Gaza. They come back home, and they killed like 7 Arabs. The Arab in Gaza decided that it was in purpose made, and they stopped uprising. And there where the Intifada started. It started at the beginning with stoning and things like that. And before we know, it started with guns and shooting. And I was a kibbutz member for over 6 years in kibbutz Nachalos. It's on the Gaza border. There's just a fence between us and Gaza. And in a good time, was no any problem. Today, kibbutz Nachalos getting missiles inside, Qassam missiles. And basically, they're used to it. They are not, but you have to think about that. Since that time, over 8,000, 9,000 missiles fell in this area. They've been bombing kibbutzim, settlements, Sderot, and all the cities around. Kids are afraid to sleep at night. It's just a disaster.
Wow.
And the policy today, it's when the missile comes, they retaliate. Doesn't do any good to the kids. Kids are afraid to sleep at night.
It's a different makeup then, because they're very impressionable at that age. But we're running out of time, so I think, Rabbi, we should give him a blessing. And
His blessings. Thank you very much for Haim. We're all good friends, but I'm glad that you're here to inform our viewers of the Jewish view about firsthand. I mean, you can always read things in books, but here's someone who's in firsthand. 6-Day War, Yom Kippur War, and you were also in Lebanon, which we didn't even talk about, the Gaza Strip.
Gotta have you back.
Firsthand. Yeah, I know. We have part 2, but thank you very much. You should continue on. You did a good service, incredible service, putting your life on the line for the the Israeli people.
Thank
And thank you very much, and continue with good health and your good work that you do.
Bezrat Hashem.